part of me is like, oh yeah, let's go back to school. And then part of me is like, maybe we should wait, you know?
It's not about necessarily just making everything safe. It's about first figuring out what's best for kids.
We're living in a new normal courtesy of COVID-19, and 2020 is undeniably going to be a challenging year for students, teachers, and parents.
Our plans going forward is that we start school, and I know we need to start school.
Face-to-face with a teacher is the best instructional model. But yes, we will offer online learning opportunities for students and parents who don't feel comfortable going to school.
From classroom safety to remote learning to sports, we're getting you ready for a back to school like no one has ever experienced by talking with those on the education front lines to discuss plans to safely return to the classroom. Tonight on Back to School, your questions answered.
Good evening, Texoma, and thanks so much for joining us for Back to School, Your Questions Answered. I'm Shatanya Clark. As the state of Texas continues to control the coronavirus pandemic, this week students will be heading back to the classroom for the first time since late March. So let's start with what we know. According to the Texas Education Agency, school districts are allowed to delay on-campus instruction for at least 4 weeks. But every school district in our area will be offering face-to-face and remote learning options on day one. If there's an outbreak within a district, local health officials do not have the authority to shut down all schools. School districts can only receive state funding if they obtain TEA's permission to stay closed. And masks for students and teachers will be mandatory in counties with more than 20 reported confirmed cases. Wichita Falls ISD leaders have been fine-tuning their back-to-school plan the best they can before the first bell rings this school year. Joining me now is Superintendent Michael Kurt to address a few topics. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, well, let's jump right in, okay? So first and foremost, we know that you've been collecting data from parents about in-person and virtual. I'm not sure if you have all of those, but talk to me a little bit about the numbers you're seeing so far.
So we've had as of last week on the 6th, when we finished, we had a little over 13,000 responses from parents, which was great. That was overwhelming. We were so excited about that. We have neighbors out there that have had 50% response, so we're really excited. And so since then, we've been calling those parents that did not respond to try to get their decision, to figure it out. And so that way we can better plan for instruction whenever the students get back.
When we talk about virtual versus face-to-face, who knows a lot of numbers, what are those looking like, even if it's just by percentage?
So 63% of our students have chosen to come to school. 37% have chosen then to stay remote. And that's of the 13,000 that we had responses from. And it's changed a little bit, but that's kind of held true.
Were you guys surprised with these numbers? Were you expecting that much face-to-face students?
I think so. Originally, back in the spring, whenever we did this survey, we were at like 75% coming to school and 25% at home. So we knew we had a pretty rough summer, and so we knew that that would change a little bit, and so it seems to have done that.
Well, we know that COVID-19 is not going anywhere for a while now. So what happens in the district if a student does test positive for the virus?
So if a student is a positive test or has symptoms, basically the same things happen. That if they're at school and we find out they have a positive test, or if they have symptoms, they will be isolated and sent home. They have to then be home, and in order to come back to school, it has to be at least 10 days since the first day they had the symptoms. They have to have a reduction in symptoms, and they have to be fever-free without fever-reducing medications for 24 hours. If they're being monitored by the health department, which means they had a positive test, they cannot come back to school until the health department releases them.
Okay, so many are still concerned with special needs students or students in special education. Clear the air on that. What is the game plan there?
It's pretty simple. Special needs students all have individual education plans, IEPs, that they decide in an ARD committee, an admission review and dismissal committee, and that's made up of teachers, of administrators, of specialists on the campus, and the child's parents. For every single year they meet. And so they will have an individual plan decided for them, and it might have to be adjusted several times, but we're going to follow that. So we don't prescribe that for them. It's prescribed by the ARD committee.
Okay, well, obviously when school starts, it's not just about the teachers and the students, but parents as well. So for those who are watching right now, what can they do to help teachers on day one?
Day one, don't send your child to school if they're sick. I think that's the number one thing that parents have to know is not to, I mean, if they all have symptoms, don't send them. We're going to figure that out over the first 6 weeks exactly how this is going to work. Just because you have symptoms doesn't mean you have the virus. Just because you have the virus doesn't mean you have symptoms. And so we're going to work through that. But if your child is at all sick, don't send them. And then the other thing is routines. Parents can help their teachers by establishing routines at home for their home students that are going to be remote, and then also routines for students that are coming to school. Wear your mask. You don't go anywhere without your mask on. Wash your hands. I want you to wash your hands before you go to recess. I want you to wash your hands after recess, before you go to PE, before you go to lunch, after lunch. I want you washing your hands. Parents can enforce that and tell students, you know, that's what they expect. So that way when the teacher gets them, the teacher will say, hey, we need to wash our hands. It's time to do that. And we'll be doing it at least twice a day. With all of our elementary students, and our high school and middle school students will have an opportunity to do it as well, but that's going to be more so directed upon them.
Okay, well, as usual, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for joining us.
Of course, thanks.
After the break, we will continue to look at the challenges of reopening schools with a conversation with educators in Electra, Iowa Park, City View, and Burke Burnett. Plus, find out what we can do to support parents, students, and teachers during this extraordinary year.
At KFDX and Texoma's Fox, we bring you the best local news.
And we were excited to tell you about a new national newscast you can watch in primetime News Nation on WGN America.
It takes a lot of people to cover the news of your nation. With 5,500 journalists, we have one goal in mind. To deliver you facts you need to form your own opinion every night in primetime. News Nation, coming September 1st to WGN America. Your news, your nation.
The Ford Summer Sales Event is here with great offers on a huge selection, like 0% APR financing for 72 months across the Ford lineup, America's best-selling brand. It's summer, so grab the family and head out. It's easier now during the Ford Summer Sales Event. Drive home an F-150 with 0% financing for 72 months or get over $11,000 in total savings. Ford, built for Texas, built for you.
My name is Harold Holloway, and I'm 95 years old. I've been opening up Lipscomb dealership for the past 19 years, every morning. I've delivered trucks all over the country for Lipscomb. I still like to drive trucks. I think that's what keeps me going. The Lipscomb family has all been very nice to me, and I'm sure they'll do the same for you. If I could share some wisdom, I'd say just keep on trucking.
Hi. You may not know these people, but they work hard every day to clear the shelters and find animals like me a forever home.
They teach me, care for me, and love me so that one day I can be the perfect pet for you.
Join KFDX3 as we clear the shelters. Now through August 31st, head to a shelter near you to adopt a pet.
To help your local shelter heroes and animals like me.
To get involved, go to Texomashomepage.com. Sponsored by All American Super Car Wash and Red River Harley-Davidson.
Welcome back. As schools nationwide are struggling through the chaos of COVID-19, it's time now to check in with other superintendents in Wichita County to see how they wrestled with the decision of whether to allow their kids back in classrooms. We're joined virtually by Steve Moody of Iowa Park CISD, City View ISD Superintendent Tony Bushong, Burke Burnett's Tyler Chaplin, and Ted West, who leads Electra ISD. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Well, we're going to jump right into this conversation with a question to all of you. In a few words, what has been the biggest challenge for your district when it came to developing a back-to-school plan? And Mr. West, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. Biggest challenge, I would just say probably trying to forecast exactly what the future is going to look like. We are making plans for something that we've never had to plan for before, and it's kind of hard to put the past in the past and get that out of your mindset as far as how you're going to operate day to day with the situation that we're dealt with now. We have worked continuously all summer on putting together a plan for our kids to come back. One of the other issues is the plan, the dynamics of the plan as far as the information that we have to go by constantly changes. And so I know that's been frustrating for us. It's frustrating for our community. It seems like we put information out, and as soon as we get it out, it's changing on us. And so I know that's something that all of our superintendents in the state have had to deal with.
Understandable. Mr. Moody?
The guidelines and all of the stipulations that we have to meet, bringing the kids back, and of course the utmost importance is we want to keep all of the students, all of the staff safe, and determining the who's wearing masks and the social distancing. We know the size of the classrooms and putting students in there. There's some of the things we're doing everything we can to maximize the social distancing and everybody wearing masks in the schools.
Right, Mr. Chaplin.
The biggest challenge has been every time you created a plan starting way back at the end of May, something changes that week and you crinkle that plan up and you throw it in the trash and you create a new plan. And so just simply moving target, we've been trying to do all summer. Fortunately, around the second week of July, the target slowed. I wouldn't say it stopped moving, but it slowed down. And then trying to balance the safety needs of our kids, so our parents feel comfortable sending them back, the academic and emotional needs that we know those kids get when they come to school. So just trying to balance that in combination with the moving target. It's been an interesting summer.
Mr. Bushong, would you want to talk about your challenges that you faced in your district?
The thing that I would probably add is unknown of how many students are going to come back into the classroom. I mean, that really drives our decisions. So I think we have a better idea now, but back in July, we were just, we had no idea. So I would say everything they said and just adding that.
All right, so we're going to turn now to some viewer questions. This one is for Tony Bushong. Jennifer Dismusk asked, will all CVISD kids be starting the same time, or is it scattered days?
They will all be starting at the same time. We are doing synchronous learning from 3rd grade through 12th grade. So students that stay home, school starts for elementary at 7:30 and junior high school starts at 8. And those students are expected to be up and dressed and in front of their computer and ready to go to class. So there is no, the only grades are pre-K through 2nd grade. And of course, their day will begin when they're ready to get started, but at the same time, every day they have to meet with the teacher and talk about the lesson for the day. So yeah, it's all going to start at the same time for everybody.
All right, thank you for that answer. Next question is from Electra's Taryn Wilson. She wants to know if students are required to go back to school on the 24th, or can they try remote learning first? And a follow-up to that, how is Electra doing remote learning?
All of our students will start on the 24th, either face-to-face or doing the remote plan. If they, during the registration process, we are asking our parents and students to choose one of the plans, either to do face-to-face or remote. Normally, we would keep them in there at least through a grading period. We make them commit to either the face-to-face plan or the remote plan for a full 6 weeks. That way, we're not switching back and forth between the plans during the middle of a grading period. However, we are going to extend them a little bit of grace that first 6 weeks. And if they try the remote plan for a couple of weeks and they decide that's not really for them, we will welcome them back with doing the face-to-face plan, and vice versa. If they're there for a few weeks face-to-face and they decide that they want to go remote, then we'll do that. That'll only be for the 6 weeks. Otherwise, we will make them commit to sticking with one of the plans for a full grading period.
All right, well, thank you so much. This next question is for Mr. Moody, and it comes from Miguel Sanchez. Now, if parents choose to keep students at home for the first 6 weeks to see how things go, will they be required to get the students tested for the virus before being allowed to physically attend classes?
We will not be requiring students to be tested. We're going to follow the process that the parents are responsible for self-screening, screening their children each day that they come to school to ensure that they're not exhibiting any of these symptoms of COVID before they come to school.
What are you hearing from your teachers as you guys get ready to head into this school year?
Mine are ready to go. We started back Monday, and I mean, they have been in high spirits, and they're ready to see kids. They're ready to get the year started and welcome everybody back. So I know across the nation we keep hearing reports that teachers are not wanting to go back, but I'm not seeing that in my district at all.
Well, I think I can speak for the gentleman on the screen with me. I feel like we've done as good a job as we possibly can in being as transparent as we can with what our plans are and how we're trying to keep the environments in which the students are going to learn safe and disinfected and stuff. And we all know that we're going to make some mistakes and there'll be some issues, but we can assure our parents that we're going to overcome those things as quickly as we can. Right now we're in a situation that no one has ever been in before. So every teacher really in the nation is a brand new teacher this year, because we're doing something that no one has ever done before. And I think that is remarkable. And for our teachers to rise up, as Tony said, and be willing to come in and do what they know is best for students under the conditions that we're all in is just incredible. It's a great time to be in education, time to be a teacher, even though it is such an uncertain time.
And if you still haven't seen your child's back to school plan, well, we've got you covered. Head on over to Texomashomepage.com and search Texoma Back to School. There you'll find this story with every local school district's plans and school supply list. COVID-19 in children, how does the virus impact our youth? When we come back, a medical expert has advice for parents on spotting signs of infection.
Growing up, you make a lot of choices.
I pushed the limit.
I lived on the edge.
But some of those decisions can be more than you bargained for.
I picked up these.
I never put them down.
Quitting tobacco can be hard, but the Oklahoma Tobacco Helpline has helped thousands of Oklahomans quit for good. With free quit plans to choose from and free patches, gum, or lozenges, we can be here for you too.
I got through it all.
And now, I gotta get past this.
It was time to update the bathroom.
But we wanted to work with a company we could trust.
And Rebath made it effortless. A Rebath design consultant came to our home and presented us ideas and products in a way that made our decision simple.
They took away the old, installed the new, and gave us the bathroom
we always wanted.
Trust Rebath with the safety in your bathroom. Call 940-202-1251 and save $750 off your tub or shower remodel.
Don't miss your chance to save big at Pruitt Ford during this buyer's market with tons of inventory, 0% financing deals, additional factory incentives, and legendary Pruitt discounts. Friends, you can't lose. Take the gamble out of car buying and just let Pruitt do it in Burke Burnett and PruittFord.com.
Choosing adoption can be hard, but also the most rewarding choice you can make when facing an unplanned pregnancy. Inheritance Adoptions is here to support you, protecting your rights and meeting your basic needs. Contact Inheritance Adoptions today to learn about our services.
The Ford Summer Sales Event is here with great offers on a huge selection, like 0% APR financing for 72 months across the Ford lineup. And get peace of mind with the Ford Promise. It's summer, so grab the family and head out. It's easier now during the Ford Summer Sales Event. Drive Expedition with 0% for 72 months, plus $2,000 bonus cash, now during the Ford Summer Sales Event. Contact your Oklahoma Ford dealer today.
Questions are still arising about how COVID-19 affects children. Now, as they head back to school, we're sitting down with MSU's medical director, Dr. Keith Williamson. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, so there are a lot of questions, a lot of common questions that people still want cleared up right now. So we're going to talk a little bit about how COVID-19 affects children. Some people are saying that they are virtually immune to the virus. Talk to me about that.
Well, people are very fearful, of course, because I have children too, and you worry more about them than you do an adult that can fend for themselves. However, statistically, the majority, the greatest body of the research suggests that children are not as likely to get COVID-19, and if they do, they don't experience as often severe problems.
Okay, well, new data is showing a startling surge in children and teenagers being diagnosed with the virus. So what could be behind this?
Right, you look at the statistics, and it's the primary group is 20 to 29 still, especially in Wichita Falls. But you are seeing increasing numbers of children who are exposed now. And what happened in the early spring is it got seeded throughout the United States, and now that it's spread everywhere, it's beginning to seep out at the edges, if you will, and take root and starting to grow. So we're seeing it in more populations.
How can parents at home recognize these symptoms in their children?
Right, because they're flu-like symptoms. They're like flu, they're like so many things. But I think in this environment, you just assume that if there is a sore throat, cough, fever, if you have that combination of things, especially if they lose their sense of smell or taste or lose their appetite, you worry about COVID-19. And if you're confused, seek out help from a medical provider who can help you sort things out.
Okay, final question for you right now is many parents are still battling with whether or not to send their kids to school. Any advice there, and what conversations should parents be having with their children, before they head back?
Shatanya, our greatest asset in this country is an educated citizenry, and our greatest asset to our future is the children who are in school now. The dam is burst. Everybody's going to get wet. And now that we're dealing with COVID, we have to deal with it the best we can in a risk-benefit analysis. And it's an individual choice. The superintendent has made it so for the parents in this community. But we need to keep our citizenry on track and educated for not just the individual, but for the community and for America.
All right. Well, thank you, as always, for dropping in and sharing your knowledge with us.
Next week, the Vernon Lions will be the first Texoma football team to take the field amid COVID-19. But what do student athletes and their parents need to know before hitting the gridiron or the volleyball court?
Every season's a good season at Rolling Meadows, but right now, it's game on. Rolling Meadows Retirement Community.
The giant Labor Day sale is going on now at the Ford House. These are the final days to get Ford Factory Summer Sales Event pricing on our most popular Ford models. Save $6,500 on a 2020 Fusion fully loaded with features and summer sale priced at only $18,995. Or choose a 2020 F-150 STX Crew Cab and save $10,750 off MSRP. Plus, during our giant Labor Day sale, all buyers get a free backyard barbecue setup. Remember, you can buy from home at thefordhouse.com. Don't miss the giant Labor Day sale going on now at the Ford House.
The Youth Opportunity Center needs your help, Texoma. So many local kids and adults benefit from our programs each year, but without your help, that can't happen. The Youth Opportunity Center is in dire need of a new roof and air conditioning. All it takes to help is an easy donation through one of the many methods on your screen, or even by donating air conditioning window units or some of the items listed. Please help to restore our beloved Youth Opportunity Center so we can continue to serve our community.
iMart Express owns selection, price, and speed. Need single vision? Get 2 pairs for just $38.71. Progressives 2 for $76.92. Nobody beats us, guaranteed. iMart Express. Right glasses, right price, right now.
It's the most authentic Asian super buffet you've ever seen. Grand Buffet, the largest Asian buffet in town. You'll be amazed at the fantastic selection and variety. Chinese, seafood, crabs and crab legs. They're big. And fresh sushi. Enjoy the only Mongolian buffet in town, grilled right before your eyes by our experienced chefs. Senior special, we have the best prices in town. Come hungry, leave happy. Grand Buffet, 4407 Kemp, just south of Target.
High school sports came to a halt in March, ending the athletic careers of several Texoma athletes. And just this past week, high school sports resumed with albeit a different look. Our very own Tobin McDuff joins me right now. Tobin, talk to me a little bit about how things are different.
Things are so much different. You know, well, first and foremost, volleyball is underway, so high school sports have begun. We've been out to Hershey High School, we've been out to Bowie High School, down to Windthorst to see games, and you know, some of the schools are using separate entrances for the athletes than they are for the staff and the fans. Masks are required in Wichita County and recommended in other counties that haven't seen the virus spike in their regions. Players not competing and coaches are quite often wearing masks at some of the schools. They're making seats with tape. They're marking them so they can encourage social distancing for the fans. This season for volleyball, no tournaments are being played, so they're not getting a lot of players congregating in one gym. And volleyball, for instance, is playing a condensed season, so they're not traveling as far in communities.
Right. What about football? Will area teams be able to start on time?
Yes and no. That's a tricky question because some of the smaller schools, classes 1A through class 4A, they're going to start on time. At least they're working towards that right now. They're already on the practice field. We're airing Friday night football previews each night. But classes 5A and our TAP schools, so Ryder and Old High, our biggest schools, and then our TAP schools, Notre Dame, Wichita Christian, Christ Academy, they've all been delayed. Their conditioning is going to get underway on September 7th with the start of the season shortly after that.
Okay, we want to talk a little bit about safety precautions. Have you seen any statistics to show how schools are working this out?
Yeah, the last one that I have seen is about a week old now, but the Texas High School Coaches Association put it out there, and they had a poll, a survey. 314 schools participated, representing 244 different districts. And this is good news. Only 4 positive cases traced to athletics. There have been 4 hospitalizations, but less than 0.5% of those athletes had tested positive. So those are some positive numbers, some good numbers.
That sounds good to me. Well, talk to me. You talked a little bit about volleyball fans. They'll be able to attend games. What about football fans? Will they be able to do so?
Yes. Most schools are going to allow 50% capacity in their stadiums. Governor Abbott has allowed that. And most of the schools are going to adhere to that. Some schools may allow less than the 50%. I spoke with Wichita Falls ISD Athletic Director Scott Hafley this week, and here in Wichita Falls, masks are going to be mandatory. You must social distance. You're being encouraged to purchase your tickets in advance for football season at hometownticketing.com. Participants are going to have the first chance to purchase those tickets on Monday and Tuesday, and then they'll open it up to everybody on Wednesday to purchase tickets. But the one thing that Scott Hafley said is that the folks that are in the stands are going to have to police themselves, and if you don't, they're going to have to scale back to 40% capacity or 30% capacity. Everything's going to be on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis on how they do things.
Okay, well, a whole lot of changes for sports, like everything else. Thank you so much for joining me, Tobin, and clearing things up.
Yeah, you bet.
Find amazing deals store-wide during the anniversary sale at Furniture Row. Every sofa, every dining table, and every bed is on sale, plus 5 years no interest and free shipping. The anniversary sale, on now at Furniture Row.
What I enjoy about my work at Presbyterian Manor and the House of Hope is that they are communities, and I have an opportunity to, in my mind, practice medicine the way it is meant to be practiced, with a real focus on the individual. And that's what I love about these communities and being able to work with the staff, very professional and always focused on the needs of our residents.
Okay, say it after me. Kasasa.
Kasasa.
No, you're saying it wrong. Kasasa.
Why are you making me do this?
Because, man, we're about to walk into Union Square and open your Kasasa Cash checking account, and I don't want you embarrassing me.
But you embarrass me constantly.
Come on, man, I don't want you to miss out. Say Kasasa.
Kasasa.
How are you getting worse?
You could earn more with a checking account that works for you. Open a free Kasasa Cash checking account and earn 3.51% on balances up to $25,000.
Kasasa.
Kasisa.
Spell that.
Right now, get 25% off our entire Doctor's Choice lineup. Score free shipping when you purchase any mattress.
And 5 years no interest. The 25th anniversary sale, on now at Denver Mattress.
Well, thanks, Texoma, for tuning in to tonight's special broadcast, Back to School, Your Questions Answered. We here at KF